Zack Snyder is back with another Zack Snyder production dripping with Zack Snyderisms all around. Twilight of the Gods is an animated Netflix series that allows us to watch Zack Snyder bring his trademark adult filmmaking into the world of Norse mythology, where once again we follow a dark, edgy protagonist hastily forming a band of companions in an effort to fight an apocalyptic godlike entity. But this time, we get to see it animated. It's the traditional Zack Snyder formula, with plenty of slow-mo, violence, gore, cursing, and most importantly, awkward sex. Zack once again brings visual ingenuity and innovation to a lackluster story, with emotionally lacking characters, wonky pacing, and a plot full of holes. But while at this point I've basically completely given up on this man making anything good, I can say that Twilight of the Gods is much more mediocre than it is outright bad. And I know, I said this when Rebel Moon came out, but there I was being generous. Rebel Moon and the whole director's cut debacle made me lose the last of the good faith I had in Zack Snyder, and the few positives I enjoyed with that movie have been erased with time. So, when I came into Twilight of the Gods, I came in with very little hope, but it genuinely did turn out better than I expected. While the show kind of fell apart for me in the last 3 episodes, out of a total of 8 by the way, it did manage to offer a bit more than most other Zack Snyder media I'd consumed in recent memory. The characters are slightly more three-dimensional than you'd expect. It's better than usual for Zack, but still lacking. The world building is admittedly decently cool, and it seems like they've made some alterations to Norse mythology which I feel are interesting. The dialogue, while cringe and exposition heavy in many spots, is tolerable in the general sense, and did not jar me as often as I expected. And most importantly, in Zack Snyder fashion, the visuals are amazing. The character models, colors, environments, and animations are all super clean and very smooth, and the fight scenes are well paced and choreographed. Though you see a lot of the same things repeated, such as the main cast fighting in a similar way, or Thor mucking about with his lightning, it still manages to be visually interesting every time. And for me personally, I enjoyed seeing some adult, dark fantasy-ish action. I liked the violence and brutality of it all, and seeing it animated so well scratched an itch for me. As for the story itself, it's a classic revenge plot, nothing we haven't seen a million times before. And if it had been done completely decently, I would have been cool with it, because the visuals and general world building would have made up for its formulaicness. However, the plot sadly kind of fell apart in the last 3 episodes, and weird shit started to happen as far as pacing goes. Episode 6 has the group just telling tales around a campfire and generally mucking about, which feels useless and halts the pacing in a weird way. It doesn't come off enjoyable, but rather expositional, as the stories they tell are not very meaningful or memorable. The whole episodes seem to exist only to extend the series by a single episode, and did very little to advance the overall plot. Moreover, we have some traditional meaningless Snyder sex, but this time it came off extra creepy to me. I'm going to be getting into some spoilers here, so if you want to be spared, skip to the timestamp I'm putting up on screen now. Okay, so Thera, the girl that had been raised with the Vanir gods, joins Sigrid and Leif for a wholesome threesome to mark her striking off in independence and freedom and writing a story for herself. This was off-putting to me, because I don't know, maybe I'm misinterpreting things, but it felt like Thera had been portrayed as very innocent and childlike in the previous episodes. So this whole thing felt groomy and uncomfortable to me. Additionally, Odin shows up at the end of this episode, but nothing really comes of it in the following episode. It's as if it didn't happen, but I guess he was just trying to introduce himself or something. Cool. And in episode 7, Sigrid's armies launch an attack on Asgard, and we get the weirdest siege I've ever seen. Here, the pacing starts to fuck up. One moment the two sides are deep in battle, the next it's nighttime and each has separated to rest, and the battlefield in front of Asgard's walls is empty. So empty, in fact, that Sigrid's party manages to sneak up and break through the walls with some magic. No guards patrolling the walls, no nothing. And while you could say that this was normal, because Thor later reveals he expected them to break in, it should still be weird to Sigrid and the group. This is not how sieges work. Oh, and in an effort to stop Leif from joining her in the battle, Sigrid stabs him in the leg before she leaves. Leif ends up joining her anyway. It doesn't stop him in any capacity, and it's basically completely useless. You just stabbed your own companion and made him less useful in the battle, and failed to do what you sought out to do, which is stop him from joining the battle. Because, you just stabbed him in the leg. That's not very effective when every battle has these guys getting scarred and cut a million times. In the final episode, as the battle rages on, a lot of vague shit happens, but I guess a lot of this is intentional to build up intrigue for a second season. But I'd be remiss not to mention that our boy, Jesus Christ himself, shows up. And I get what Snyder's trying to do here, showing Odin that the Norse gods will be forgotten and replaced and whatnot, but I don't know, just straight up getting Jesus in there was wild. Wild, but not unexpected from the Lord of Christ imagery, Zack Snyder. So yeah, Twilight of the Gods is mid. It's nice to watch for the visuals and set pieces. Kind of comes off like a cool D&D adventure with different fights, with different monsters and different locales. Otherwise, the plot wasn't interesting enough to really pull me in personally. Decent world building though. I suppose it's okay for a casual watch, which is still better than what Zack's been cooking up recently. I just don't understand how he keeps getting funding to create unoriginal storylines in a very samey formula. Shit's weird. The man is seemingly immune to failure, and I guess fortunately, this series is okay enough that I can't even count it as a failure. It's just mediocre. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of Twilight of the Gods in the comments below, and see ya.